Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this talk. So it's my pleasure to introduce to everyone Margot Clavier. Some of you know her since before. She's an RA alum. She did the TTP program in 2018 and 19. Currently, she is the program coordinator of Mingyur Rinpoche's nonprofit organization, Himalayan Environment and Life Protection, or H.E.L.P for short. Which was founded last year, 2023. So this organization, hi Andy, works in the Nubri region of Nepal with outreach and helping with resilience regarding climate change, sustainable livelihoods, these kinds of things. So today she will share her findings of the research that she's conducted in the H.E.L.P village in Nubri. So please give her a warm welcome. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone, and it's very welcome. I also welcome myself. I haven't come back here for a long time. I'm very happy to be back. As Olaf kindly said, I was an alumni of the Translator Training Program from 2018 to 2019. And I then started working in parallel as an independent researcher in Nubri and also as Ming Rinpoche's. We used to be called Tergar Charity Nepal, but now all the resilience, climate change, and women empowerment projects are under this organization called H.E.L.P. So without any further ado, I'll dive into the research. I've been in Nubri now for over 4 years. Nubri is the valley which Mingyur Rinpoche, Tsogni Rinpoche, and now Tenga Yangzi Rinpoche are from. Specifically, I stay in the village of Samagaun, or in Tibetan, which is in Nepal, but where you don't feel you're in Nepal when you arrive there. People call it Little Tibet. People say it's before Chinese invasion. Tibet will feel like, it's like this feeling. So first of all, you can, So this is map of Nubri, which is actually focused. It's the Gorkha district, which is west of Kathmandu, north, and you have the Tibetan border. And we're actually in a conservation area, which is called the Manaslu Conservation Area. And Samagaun, or R, is situated at the bottom of Mount Manaslu, which is the 8th highest mountain in the world. Samagaun is located at 3,550 meters high. Manaslu is 8,163. So quite high mountain. And Nubri is considered in Tibetan Buddhism, it's identified from very early on, it's considered a Beul. So in Tibetan, Beul literally means hidden valley. These hidden valleys, there are several. The Shambhala story also emanates from there. Hidden valleys are refuges which were identified by Guru Padmasambhava as refuges for when time becomes so degenerate that people need to hide, or which is, unlike today and not unlike today. People need to kind of take refuge and hide in these places. And they are a place in the kind of thinking that people, as the culture that people have there, is that merit, tantric practice, merit is magnified extremely when practiced in a Beul. And also, so they reveal themselves to people when the times become degenerate. And you actually need a certain amount of merit stocked to get there. So I was kind of, when Mingyur Rinpoche hired me and asked me to go, I was kind of a little bit anxious because I read about Nubri and the Beul, and it was written, there were cases of violent death following people entering Nubri or the Beul and not having enough merit. So I thought, okay, should I call my insurance company? Or I was just joking, but this is the mythology that's around the Beul. And So obviously it's a place where spirituality and nature overlap. And I feel when you get there, if you have the chance to visit, you can clearly feel that. So it is the hometown of Tsogni Rinpoche. His mother was born, and Rinpoche is Rinpoche's hometown, and of course, Mingyur Rinpoche's hometown. Samagaun is Mingyur Rinpoche's hometown, and now Denga Yangzi Rinpoche, who's this photo, he's a little small, but he's 8 years old now. He lived in the village until not last year, the year before. And it's located 5 days of walk from the nearest road. So yeah, it's kind of a challenge to get there. Or if you're lazy and have a lot of money, 1 hour by helicopter. So it's up to you. The helicopter ride, by the way, is incredible. But so these are a few pictures. This is the entrance of Re. This is the entrance of Samagaun. This is, you see the arrival, and this is Mount Manaslu, which is basically kind of the over top view. And this is basically the glacier, which is right next to Mount Manaslu. And you can see why Mingyur Rinpoche was interested in having an NGO project there working on climate, because it's such a place affected by climate change. The subject today is the rituals and the Buddhist rituals in the village, but the melting of the glaciers, it's been calculated, happen about between 2.8 and 3.5 times faster. The global warming happens there 2.8, between 2.8 and 3.5 faster than anywhere else in the globe. So it's a very high intense biodiversity place, and it's a very endangered place. When I arrived there, obviously, I was, and I still am, foreigner, and I thanks to the TTP training I had, I was speaking some Tibetan. However, it wasn't really of use because I spoke a French accent, obviously, but also Lasake, I learned the standard Tibetan, which compiled with my French accent was no use. People speak Nubri, which is about, I don't know, there's what, 60–70% of Tibetan, and the rest is dialect. So it's, if you see like the Amdoke, it's as different as from Amdoke and Lasake as Nubrike and Lasake. So I learned the hard way, meaning, people making fun of me and not understanding in conversation. But now I babble some Nubrike, at least I understand most of it, which was really interesting in terms of linguistics. And I could dive in. It's a still very traditional society, it's called Little Tibet. Since the Nepali constitution in 2015, actually the government arrived there. But before, it was what we could call a feudal Tibetan society. So lamas and religious ritual were the main force and were the main social organizer and binding. And so it was very, very interesting to look at the village from the angle of Buddhism, obviously, but the ritual, which obviously came from it's the main sect practice in Nubri is Nyingmapa. However, the monastery is Nyingmapa, this one, but until the end of the 19th century, on the ridge of the village was a Kagyupa monastery, which was destroyed. So people revere follow the Nyingma tradition, but also revere the Karmapa. So and also obviously Mingyur Rinpoche is Kagyu, Tsogni Rinpoche, also Drukpa Kagyu. So there's this mix there that you can really feel. What I just want to point out, I kind of approach the rituals and the ceremonies in kind of a systematic way, and I could see already that there's one type of ceremony which is seasonal, as the whole life of the village, meaning at large the agricultural life, the births, the death, is rhythmed and is structured by the religious rituals. And then so you have certain seasons, certain rituals, and it's very interesting. I knew I had attended some Dupin in the Lama Monastery, in Chechen Monastery, obviously. Mingyur and Rinpoche are my teachers, so I had attended ceremonies before, but having kind of attending ceremonies in Nubri, it's very different in terms of angle because it's really linked to people's harvest. So you're gonna see the first rituals that people do is actually to launch the planting year. So it's a very, very different kind of approach from I was a Westerner coming to interested in Buddhism, but without having kind of a community rooting to it. So then what struck me at first, this Goomba, which is, sorry for the picture not being so good. It's the only picture I had of my friend gave Mason Brown photo credit, by the way, who's also he's a great researcher. He researches about music. He's a musicologist, and also he's done amazing work on music of Nubri. I really encourage you to research his work. And this Goomba, when the village, you can see the picture there. So it's situated Samagaun in Nepali. It's the Nepali name for means flat place. Samagaun. And you have actually, the village is situated in between mountains. So you have two big mountains on the side, Manaslu at the back, and at the back also you have this glacier. So the down part of the village is where lay people live, carry out agricultural work, herd yaks. And then there's kind of a hill above the village that you can see where this monastery, Pema Monastery, was built. And it's an old monastery with frescoes, editions of the Kangyur and Tengyur from Lhasa. So if you have, obviously, this is not an advertising for come to trek to Manaslu, but if you have the chance to come and see, it's really, as researchers or as Tibetan Buddhists or as Tibetan scholars or practitioners, it's a place where you have incredible frescoes in this monastery. And so on the hill, you have the monastery, the building, and then it's also an old age home. Basically lay people, lay villagers at the end of when the children leave the nest, when children get married, they retire by becoming a monk or a nun, and they come to live in the monastery. There's small houses. So this is a hole in the door. One of the houses, the nuns' houses, this is kind of a big house. Some of them have really smaller houses. But this is where nuns and monks live alone after having worked their whole life, and they practice, they attend pujas, and they also, they also have a small kitchen garden. We help with that. We built some greenhouses with the Rinpoche's organization with stone walls, which are cold climate greenhouse, which helps people farm vegetables, tomatoes, cucumber, salad for 12 months a year in very cold regions for food security. And we help the nuns, not all of them, but some of the poorest ones have these small to complement their kitchen gardens. And they also some of them have a few yaks. So it's actually a very busy and very difficult. Most of them, of course, they don't have an income source, and they walk as women do in Samagaun, carrying 30 to 60 kg of wood, of material on their backs. They go to cut the wood for the winter. So at 80, 85 years old. So yeah, when I was complaining that Paris is too gray or the metro is not working, then I thought, okay, maybe I should think about Samagaun women and not complain so much. So, and Samagaun old nuns especially. So to dive in, at the end of the winter, beginning of spring, the first practice is the whole village, the village lamas. Yeah, what I need to kind of make clear is that village lamas are men, and they are in charge of conducting the religious ceremonies, which go from this ceremony, reading the Kangyur and Tengyur for good harvest and crop, to propitiating or like which illness, when someone is ill, going to people's houses and assessing by doing like money divination and reading Paldin Lamos, who's the Dalai Lama's protector deity, kind of doing divination around oracles so that they know what type of Tibetan medicine has to be given to the sick person, etc. So the lamas are really, as I said, very, very strong and very important and influential in the Samagaun, in the rural society. And so they gather in the first days of April, they read the whole Kangyur and Tengyur in Pema Chuling, and then they go in the village with the Kangyur and Tengyur on their backs, and they basically, they touch people's head, they touch people's walls. So I'd have a little video. This was 2 years ago. So I don't think we had the. So I think you can see. So that's a very beautiful and quite joyous, because there was 3 months or 4 months of intense cold, usually 3 to 4 meters of snow. So it's kind of a rejoicing ritual. And then right after that starts the season, the planting season. People plant potatoes, and then happens what's this festival, which is more, it's a lay festival given that it's in Nubri, so it's always related to a deity or to some kind of religious practice. The Dachang festival, Da means arrow, Chang is Tibetan wine, which is the fermented wine, which is made out of different, whether it's rice or barley or anything else. And it marks the beginning of spring. And the Dachang, people gather for 2 days. You can see here my two friends, Bir Bahadur and Ming Matering. Bir Bahadur was the political head of Samagaun. He has an NGO helping the locals, and Ming Matering is a hotel owner. So you can see the stature, and people shoot arrows and ride horses. There's horse race, which is typical to, Mongolia, obviously, some parts of Tibet. So, and this is to thank Gan Pungyen, which is the deity. Pungyen is actually what people call Manaslu, and is to thank the Manaslu deity and ask for auspiciousness. So then starts the season, people work in the fields, and the Drupchans and empowerment season starts. And the main, I tried to, obviously I couldn't, there's a lot of different rituals, and individual people do their own pujas in their own home, or there's a lot of different, but I tried to center on the main community ones. The Ngatso Drupchen, which is it happens also, I think, in Kaniche Dribbling. He also has the practiced Drupchen perform in Kaning. The Ngatso Drupchen for Guru Rinpoche is just before monsoon. It's a 9-day practice, and it's to accumulate. I don't know, I'm sure you probably know much more about Drupchen than I know, studying various subjects at RYI, but it's a 9-day practice, a whole day, where the gates of the monastery are sealed, north, south, east, west. The monks are not allowed to go out. Women, the nuns stay in the Goomba, and the Drupchen, the ceremony has to go. So they have to sing the chanting. So it's usually the old nuns who keep it going when everybody is falling asleep. But everyone is kind of taking turns, and it's an accumulation of merit and wisdom. So you'll see, I'll show you a video. It's much better than my blabbering. So this is stereo. This is so you heard, probably recognize the Guru Rinpoche mantra, and this is the inside of the Pema Choling Monastery, so the old ancient monastery of Samagaun. So then at the end of the 9 days, people go out and lamas give Wang empowerment to everyone present, and it ends in Lama Dance. So here's a little video of Lama Dance. So you see, this when that happens, it's still trekking season, so the community is there, but a lot of trekkers come and watch, obviously. How incredible. This is I think yeah, it's before the monsoon, so again it kind of links to agriculture and hoping that the monsoon season is fruitful, that rain falls well, and that it's not too long, not too short. I think I mean, it's always to, of course, in a dharma sense, accumulate merit and wisdom, but at large, so that the community avoids obstacles. So then, during the summer, there are Nunes, which I don't know if you are familiar about. Nunes are fasting ceremonies in Buddhism. When I first started practicing Buddhism, I didn't know about the fasting ceremonies, and I got to learn about them more when I was in Samagaun. Women actually in the village practice these ceremonies, and they're a ceremony of discipline and compassion. So for 2 days, 1.5, the first half day is open, then the second 1.5 day, monastery is closed, and women do prostration again continuously and meditate on compassion without eating, so that the suffering they feel from the hunger makes them feel the pain of the animals that we usually eat, and all the dikpa, all the negativity that we meat eaters, and when we eat meat, how we accumulate. So it's a purification practice, and it's a discipline and compassion practice. Khenpo Gyaltsen, obviously, I don't know if everyone here is familiar with Khenpo Gyaltsen La. Khenpo Gyaltsen La is one of amazing Khenpo from Kaning Chidripling. He's from Samagaun, and he actually created a women's group called Maila Samoa. As you know, and you've seen, the traditional rituals are performed by men, these lamas, and Khenpo La really incredibly, he started a women's group for Dharma, teaching Tibetan Buddhism, writing prayers to the women. And for them, it was just, it was amazing, because as I think everywhere in communities in the world, women they do most of the work. They take care of the children, they take care of the agricultural work. Now the men are leaving on illegal visas abroad in search of better income opportunity. They're also alone in the village, and they have to work even more. And they don't get recognition. So the lamas are men, are revered. The men are looked towards, but the women is basically they're working to keep the village afloat on every level, children, agriculture, everything, hotels if there are hotels, and they have no education. They're denied the right, not anymore, but because now it's mentalities have opened, but they're less pushed towards education than their male counterparts. So when Kempola started this women's group, it was just wonderful. And every woman in the village, every night, goes to practice their prayers. It's just incredible. You have, I mean, obviously, you have some days more women than others, but there's about 130 women continually learning Tibetan prayers and rituals. And so this is Nune. This photo is from a H.E.L.P practice, but I didn't have a Nune practice photo, sorry. But we have a Nune video from, so again, the credits. I am very indebted, and I want to say this to a few people, and not least Kempo Karma Urgen. I'll come to who are the lamas in the village at the end of the talk. Kempo Karma Urgen is like Kempo Gyaltsen, a stellar Kempo. He studied like Kempo Gyaltsen in Namdroling, and he's a much better documenter than me. So he is always taking pictures and about every ceremony. And he kindly agreed and to say, you can use my videos. And so, yeah, can we, I could not download this from Facebook. I'm a little bit technologically challenged, but we can go to the video on his Facebook account, Kempola.
Stop the screen share, and you have a link.
It's there.
Huh?
Wait.
All right. How do you select the link from there? Maybe if you exit,
Yeah.
and then if you go into like edit mode, then I think you can
Yeah.
probably, yeah, exactly. Now you can copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have your browser there. Yeah. Right. Okay, great. So now
This is the Nune practice.
First, we have to go back to Zoom again and screen share.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Wow, this is so effective. Huh?
And now we have to make sure that we don't talk because there's going to be echo.
So you could see on the video. Can I talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. And screen share is I'm sharing, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You could see on the video you have the nuns in front, and then at the back you have Kempo Gyaltsen and all the lay women with their pink shawl. Kempola gifted them, so you're gonna see the next video is H.E.L.P. I think everyone's familiar, or it's called, but they were given the shawl and the H.E.L.P, the vajra, the bell, and I was invited finally, not at first, but they said, okay, you come and practice. I was so happy. I said, yeah. So sometimes I try to go also, and it's just wonderful. So again, no need for big talk. I'll just show you the video of H.E.L.P. You're going to see how it is incredible. So that we are, can I talk? Yeah. They're hearing me, right? It's it's actually good thing. These two lamas, the left is Kimpo Karma Orgen, and Lama G on the right, the Lamala is Lama Achu Gyurme. We call Achu means brother, big brother. He's Kimpo Gyaltsen's big brother, and he stayed in the village on retreat this winter. He's also very helpful and instrumental in supporting the women's group. So this was the Chu. I mean, obviously, I think Chu, everyone is familiar, cutting through the ego, and the practice is basically, it was what I didn't put into context is that actually Mingyur Rinpoche's father, Tulku Urgen Rinpoche, who's also Kyabje Chokimin Rinpoche's father, obviously came to Nubri and taught a lot in Nubri, and Chu was his main practice. So when Tulku Urgen was in Nubri, he practiced Chu 4 months at a time in a different place. And he said, it was said that and Chu is, so it's a tantric practice where you visualize the different kinds of beings and you offer them your body. You visualize offering them your body. And so the villagers said they could see, when he was practicing Chu, they could see the rainbows, and that he attained Siddhi. He attained even further realization when he was in practicing Chu in Nubri. So it's quite very inspiring. So then we go on to pilgrimage is something, and obviously a lot of every Tibetan do in Nubri. It's a practice which is very much practiced every Tepa Changa, 15th of Nishuni, 15th and 22nd of the Tibetan month, around Samagaun. Again, not promoting, but if you have time, please come. You have Mila Caves, where Mila actually meditated. And you have two, one is called Milapuk, the other is called Neljorpuk, which is the yogi's cave. And there's another very holy place called Pungyen. So Pungyen is actually a place where there's a monastery. It's at 4,800 meters high, and it's a Padmasambhava It's a Padmasambhava holy place. So this photo is Milapuk. So this, you don't see. Oh, sorry.
There we go. That's my bad. And then yeah.
So this is Milapuk. What I didn't show is the hill, the road to get up to Milapuk. That's also a challenge. It's good for your merit. It's about, I think, 500 or 600 higher than Samagaun. So it's almost 4,000. So first time at Milapuk for me was quite challenging, but definitely worth it. And this is Pungyen. So Pungyen Monastery is a flat, it's really like Tibet, it's very flat. And there's a piece, incredible piece. You have a choden, a stupa, you have a monastery, and you have these, on the left, you can see these small hermitages, which are small hermitages where lamas from the village go there on retreat, either short-term, long-term, and it's still very much used. Some families own these, like in Samagaun, I didn't mention, but there's basically the lamas all came from Tibet, kind of royal family. Yeah, that's actually my bad in presenting. Mingyur Rinpoche and Tsogmyur Rinpoche's lineage descend from Kin Tritsom Deutsen. So Tibet first Dharma king, Chogyal. And so the descendants of King Tritsom Deutsen are said to be in Samagaun, and also noble high lamas from Tibet who around 1610, probably because of war and unrest, migrated to Samagaun. And from these in this nobility, there were 5 lineages. The lineage of the Rinpoches, all of them were Rinpoche, but lineages from the Mingyur Rinpoche, which was the highest lineage. Then there was the lineage of the Mingyur Rinpoche, and then Penzang, which were the rulers, and then and the 2 others, which were the teachers, and then so Mingyur Rinpoche, Penzang, the rulers, then the teachers, and then the servants. So these were all high lamas, and the hierarchy and the different lineages are still very much alive today. And some Penzang family who are obviously much more higher in the hierarchy, for example, but not only the Penzang family, but some people have their own hermitage like that. So Pungen Monastery is a very holy place. Basically, this is Milarepa's cave, and this is the inside of Milarepa's cave. You see on the right, people go there for pilgrimage. They do sang, they do a smoke offering, and then this photo, this sign on the wall, this is Milarepa's meditating place. So people offer butter lamps to where he used to sit, which is a kind of small cave in the wall. This is what you see from Milarepa's cave, which is the left photo is, you cannot see it very well, but it's the Glacier Lake, which is above Samagaun, called Birendratal, which is an incredible place also, where people go sometimes to do small piles of rock as small stupas to circumambulate them. And then obviously, when you go in the summer, during monsoon time, to Milarepa's cave, the Milapuk one, you encounter horses from the village who are roaming around, some yaks who have not gone really up to the high mountain, to the high pastures, but are still around. You can also sometimes encounter black bears, which happened to one of my staff who was very scared. That's not the most pleasant encounter, but you have, obviously, it's Manas conservation area. So you have you have wildlife in very, very diverse and high, you have a lot of different species around there. So then going into the summer, Khenpo Karma Urgen and Khenpo Gyaltsen and Lamas of the village reinstated the practice of Tsedar, which is saving a life. So obviously people from Samagaun are herders, and yaks it's a no-kill zone. It's been declared by the Manasu conservation area and as a no-kill zone because it's a Buddhist practitioner zone. However, some people, yaks are still killed at sometimes for meat or things like that. So what Khenpo Karma Urgen, Khenpo Gyaltsen, and all the lamas of the village did is that they reinstated a practice where each year, 40, 50, 60, a certain number of yaks are bought and freed. This way, they're not going to be exploited either for their milk or for anything, and they're saved. So, and obviously it's a very traditional practice in Tibetan Buddhism. I'm sure you've all heard of it, but it's really wonderful to see. You see on the bottom photo, all these yaks roaming around the Goomba area. And on this side, you can see one Khenpo. So I'll come to him, to the Lama line in a minute. Lama Gamso, who's the oldest Valama in the village, also giving kata to people who are offering and giving away their yaks. So this is really wonderful. Then in the winter, winter comes and very low temperature comes, -20 sometimes, very high snow comes. And practitioners, especially Lama, go on winter retreats. And these retreats can also be 1-year retreats. So the photo I've just put there is the Lamas of Sama just came out of the 1-year retreat they had started. As for Losum Dasum, as for 3-year retreat, it's 3-year, but it's more. So the 1 year actually lasted 1.5 years. They entered in, I think, May or June of 2022. No, sorry, maybe September, October, and they just came out. So people posted on Facebook that they had been out, and it was, really wonderful. So this, even in the winter, people, and they were staying in a cave not far from the village. So without, of course, cave conditions. And then in the winter, villagers from Samagaun, some of them who have more money, go down to Kathmandu and sometimes even travel to India for pilgrimage. So some of them go to Bodh Gaya, and obviously some of them this year, for example, people from Samdo, who is the village above Samagaun, 50 of them, they're actually traveling right now. They're going to meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So this photo is Kimbo Karma again, obviously, but Dechin Durma, who's a good friend of mine, she's a hotel owner in the village. She's the head of the Dharma Gyan organization, Khenpo Gyaltsen's Dharma organization. She's a main leader, women leader in the village. Then, so I actually managed to embed this video, so we're not going to have to go on Facebook again. What I didn't, every 3 years, I told you it's kind of really seasonal, but every 3 years, there is a Tibetan opera festival, which is actually it's for accumulating, communally accumulating merit and wisdom, but it's also to fundraise for the butter lamps, the Pema Chöling butter lamp making for the next 3 years. So won't comment. You can see Tibetan. I don't know if people were familiar with Tibetan opera, but a lot of tourists make videos. So the women, Lama Jigme, who's the opera was a big deal. Lama Ula Jigme, who's the head Lama of Samagaun in a political sense, is very, invested in the welfare of the village, and he organized this. Happens every 3 years. It's this year, so again, feel free. It's this year if you want to attend or see Tibetan opera, and he brought the best Tibetan dance and singing teacher, at least one of the best from Kathmandu, Tenam Lama. And the girls especially practice dance for, I think, at least 2 months. The girls, the boys, the theater, the dancing, the singing, and it happens. It's almost 3 weeks in the village. So, and yeah, people make donations for the butter lamps. Then obviously, as I told you, these are the seasonal kind of ceremonies. And now what I was interested in, because obviously when you live in a community, you have births, you have deaths, you have very kind of Jigden Kikorwa, the samsaric life that happens. I couldn't resist putting a photo of my teacher, Mingyur Rinpoche, and the women's group. Rinpoche very kindly agreed to, because we also, Khenpo Gyaltsen has an amazing class. We also did a basic literacy class and income generation, vocational training class for women. because these classes and women were really motivated. They attended very well. And so this year's and since last year, our project, we're building a house for the women, which had never happened in Samagaun at least. So we're working together with Khenpo Gyaltsen and Dharmagyan so that the women have a place to practice, to learn the Buddhism, to learn the Chu, that they have their own kind of place, and also the women's community group called Amasamoa, which is in every village in Nepal, you have Amasamoa kind of women's group. We'll also have an office there, and women will have their place. And it was when Rinpoche came, it was a big event that women could go to practices together. They could practice with Rinpoche, and that was kind of a ceremony linked to an event, or a kind of a not seasonal every year event, but something that happened. So first of all, what's really interesting, I couldn't put, there's the illness divination ceremony to propitiate beings responsible for the illness or for the malady. So that is definitely still happening. It's a very private thing. So I couldn't, and I wouldn't take pictures or videos. However, as I said, sometimes when a person is sick, people go to lamas and ask their astrological charts to be charted out, and also for moz or divination to happen. So either through meditation or through rolling a dice, and depending on which number the dice gets, then they check the Palden Lamos liturgy. They check the Palden Lamos text and see which numbers correspond. And Palden Lamo is His Holiness the Dalai Lama's protector oracle. So then, linked to birth and death and illness, the suffering of samsara, there is long life ceremony for lamas of the village. So I should have maybe introduced the lamas either before talking about the long life ceremony or at the beginning of my presentation. This lama, he's called, the villagers call him Meme Gamso. He's Lama Gamso, and he is over 90, and he's the oldest lama of the village. And last year there was a very nice ceremony in one of the he has a private Goomba actually in his house, and in his private Goomba, all the lamas young came because he has a lot of students. All the nuns from the village are mostly, not all, but some of them are his students. So they came and they practice together for a few days, this Shabden, this long life ceremony. Then the death rites, obviously, death is a huge part of, maybe the main part of suffering of samsara. Obviously, when people die, lamas are consulted. When people died, small rock piles are constructed or built so that people are remembered. It's cremation, but rock piles are built, and lamas are consulted on what direction to put the rock pile so that it's astrologically aligned and auspicious. What I centered there is there was one of the lamas from Samagaun was Lopen Gyurme. Lopen Gyurme was a Rinpoche, but he was a self-made Rinpoche. I was very interested by that. I thought you could only become Rinpoche, being recognized. Lopen Gyurme he was a monk who studied in Dakar Tatso in region of central Tibet before the Chinese invasion. And because of his practice, his exceptional scholar, practitioner ability, his incredible mind and intelligence, he became known as a realized being in his lifetime and was revered in Samagaun. He came from Tibet and created a Lama training center in the region of Kutang, which is just below Nubri. And actually, so many Rinpoches have studied under him. Dujun Rinpoche, obviously, the new generations of Lama from Chechen, not least Dilgo Khyentse Yangzi Rinpoche. So he was very influential and in kind of carrying the lineage from Tibet to Nepal. And Lopen Gyurme suddenly passed away in 2021. And this ceremony happened. So Mingyur Rinpoche, Tsogni Rinpoche, all the Rinpoches from Nubri came. The puja lasted for over, I think, 10 or 11 days. And you can see this is Lopen Gurme's remaining that was carried by the villagers, obviously, and the ceremony. This is Tulku Karma, who's a Tulku from a monastery in Nubri called the Serangumba. If you also trek along the Nubri Monastery trail, you can go to Serangumba. It's a very beautiful place. And this is the time. So, and this is Mingyur Rinpoche on top, the highest photo, and lower it's Sogni Rinpoche. I think I'm sorry, I'm gonna put Facebook again because it's really it's really kind of very powerful to see the ceremony, and Khenpo Karma Uryen, who was Lopen Gyurme's son, and he was Lopen Gyurme's son, kindly said, he posted it on Facebook and he kindly said I could. So wait. Oh, what did I do? Solemn. Stop the sound. It was a very solemn puja, and Rinpoche, on the day of Rinpoche's cremation, vivid rainbows appeared. Extremely vivid rainbows appear. Sorry, we can't see. So admit.
Slides now?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a rain. It was really incredible, and that was on the day of Lopen Yudemi's cremation. So then, this is kind of a steep transition, but what also happened last year, and what happens as a lot of lamas come to Nubri, and there's a lot of, it's kind of Dharma Wonderland, if we can say. There are new monasteries being built. One of them was just opened last year in Samagaun. They called it Pema Dejeling Monastery, which was under the lineage of Peno Rinpoche and Namjoling Khenpos. The head of this monastery is another Khenpo from Samagaun, who's called Khenpo Pasang Tenzin, who stays in Taiwan. And this ceremony was unlike anything I'd ever seen because it was lavish. It was there's not only Samagaun, other places like Hinang in Nubri had monastery openings, but this year was Samagaun. The whole of Nubri came, and also Tibetan singing stars came. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Sonam Tobden. And I personally was a fan, so I could meet and get Sonam Tobden's autograph. But anyway, I'll let you. We had it was for 4 days, and obviously, much more important was the coming of Dilgo Khyentse Yangzi Rinpoche, who agreed kindly to come and bless the ceremony and also give teachings. So it was Rinpoche's first time in Nubri, and he attended the whole opening, singing, dancing, and of course he presided the puja. So that was, and of course, blessed us with his presence. And I think the time is running short. I won't show you the video where he's presiding the puja, but I think you can imagine. And so now the last part, which I've already well talked about, are of course Rinpoche's High Lamas and transmission. This photo was taken, you can see, if you, of course, Kyabje Yongey Mingyur Rinpoche and Khenpo Gyaltsen, who's above, Khenpo Gyaltsen's brother, Lama Acho Gyurme. So these are in front, Lama Gamso, whom I've already talked about. Next to Lama Gamso is Mayumla, who's Mingyur Rinpoche's mother, who's born in Samagaun. At the back, right at the back on the left is Lama Karma, who is I'm going to talk about in a minute, who's the ex-leader, political leader of Samagaun, and they're actually the kind of the black, where my video is. We can't see it, but there's Lama Jigme Tsewang, who's I've already mentioned, Ula Jigme, who's the new head of Samagaun, who's really so active and doing great management of the village on every level, not least organizing this Mani festival and helping women to get training. And so, as you can see, it's really a concentration of realized being who are kind of leading the village. So this is Lama Tashit and Lama Tashi Dorje, who was Mingyur Rinpoche and Tsongkhapa Rinpoche's grandfather, who passed away in 2021. Lamala was Mingyur Rinpoche's first teacher. He taught Rinpoche how to write Kakakanga, the Tibetan alphabet. He was a highly realized practitioner. He was the head of Samagaun before, and he was a highly realized practitioner who died in Tukdam, obviously in 2021. And this is one of the photos, Tsongkhapa Rinpoche's and Mingyur Rinpoche's grandpala. So we have, the photo is not, I found this on the internet, but on the left, lady is Mayumla, Rinpoche's mother, Lama Tashi Dorjela and Mingyur Rinpoche. So, and then Lopen Gyurme, so on the left you can see Tsongkhapa Rinpoche. Lopen Gyurme I've already mentioned. Lopen Gyurme was an incredibly realized Lama, and who also died in 2021. And he trained and influenced a vast number of today's Rinpoches and Lamas, young Rinpoches and Lamas, and not even young. He created from Dakar Tatso his training center in Tibet. He then he left and he flew, and then he installed in Nepal and started this center. And all the most Lamas from Re, obviously, but also Lamas in Kathmandu studied under his guidance. Then Lama Gamso, who we affectionately call, villagers call Meme Gamso. Meme means grandfather. Meme Gamso is 90 this year, and he had the privilege. He was born in Tibet in 1934, and he went on pilgrimage in around 1950 around all central Tibet. He went, among others, to Lhasa. He went to Mindreling. He met Kyabje Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, the previous incarnation. He met the 16th Karmapa, and he received empowerments, teaching from. The list is long. I center on these two, but the list of teachings he got at that time. And I remember I asked him about his pilgrimage, and he told me that they had to carry everything on the back. So from Sama to Tibet, and with, I don't know, like 30 kg of stuff. The tsampa for a year. Tsampa is the Tibet roasted barley flour. The tsampa for a year, the offering, the butter. So it was Tibetan style. So the main food was tsampa and butter probably, but it was no small, easy feat like today. We have more easy, but it's very heartwarming. And if you come to Samagaun, Lamala, I think now he stays and he meditates, he practices, but it's great to hear stories from him, even from other people he basically has the knowledge of Samagaun since 90 years, and previously Tibet. And now, of course, Lama Karma Gyurme Dorje, who is the last leader of Samagaun, the ex-leader of Samagaun, who is also extremely realized and astute, a realized practitioner and astute leader, and who received a lot of empowerments and a lot of teachings from various lamas, including Memelopen. He also studied under Memelopen, and he now, he retired and he gave his. There's a lot of lamas you can see. There's Khenpo Gyaltsen, there's Jigme Tsewangla. So I centered on the old generation so that we're not too long. But this is Lamala is still in Samagaun. He's still there, and he's if you're in Samagaun and you meet him on the way, he might just invite you for tea. He's very informal. He's very high Lama, but he's very informal and easy to access. And so this is Gangpungen. This is Manaslu. Thank you for listening. Too long, and thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for this presentation. It's really like being transported directly.
Thank you for the talk. I'm curious about your personal life there as a resident, and researcher. What is your daily life like? I have another question, but yes.
Okay. Should I use this, or I think people? Okay, I think I haven't used the mic. Now time to use it. My daily life is it's very interesting. I have basically two activities. One is as a researcher, and the other is as managing projects we did a women's class, and now we're doing a children's class. We do greenhouse agriculture. We don't do reforestation. So I work most of the day. I basically try to do my projects work. I wake up. Our house is our office. We have a team of 4 people, 5 now, or 5. I mean 5 including me. 3 are from Nubri, 1 is from Kathmandu, and we all stay in the same house except for my colleague Norbu, who is from Samagaun. His wife, he lives with his wife and child there. So we start our day at around 9. Either we have breakfast together or we have coffee, and then we start working. And we do the projects work obviously we talk, we have meetings, or we discuss about this and that project. Sometimes we have outside also, because when you're we're in a community and we're really trying to be hands-on, meaning, we might have when we were building the greenhouses with stone walls, we were on that, the management and the construction. So there's this kind of work, obviously. And I'm also on my computer a fair bit. Believe it or not, internet is in Samagaun. Fiber. So it works sometimes better times than other, but it still works. So I'm still sending emails and managing and finding partners and fundraising and whatnot. But then obviously it's also a place where you're kind of out of time. It's like you're in a bubble. There's no cars. It's a very holy place, and it's really the case. At least for me, you're surrounded by nature. The air is the local always say chutsangmare, lungtangmare. So the water is clean, the air is clean. You're surrounded by nature. In the spring or in the autumn, yaks are running around. So it's definitely not stressful. And then when there's a puja, obviously, for research reasons, but also for personal reasons, I try to attend and just be and live with the community. At the beginning, I arrived there, I was a outsider, and it took some time for people to know me and accept me, and I also took me some time to know people. But then when now I really actually have some real friends. It feels like a family. It really the second family. So I feel I go to people's houses to have tea. I really try, and obviously some days can be really hectic because sometimes either there's a puja that I want to attend and I want to stay there, so I have this time and I need to do another project work. But I really try to, go around, go to the village, have tea with an old momola or some people. I go to my friends, people there's a young Yangzi Rinpoche's family is really lovely. Their parents, his parents are really lovely, and his small younger sister Mendo is, I don't know, maybe the parents will not like me to talk, but anyway, I will. I take care of her and I play with the kids, not only her, but we started a kids class. So taking care of the kids, playing with the kids, going to the older nuns, listening to their stories. Obviously it's part of the work, but it's more like, living there. And so, this is, sorry, not a really good answer, but this is kind of how I try to structure my day.
Can add a second question. I'm also curious about, is there a living tradition of Epic of Ingisar, like storytellers or anything like that?
So that's an interesting question. Actually, I think there is, but I asked a Lama who told me there was, at least, but it's not widely practiced, or it's not kind of told house to house. However, at least that I know of, I really want to, Khenpo Gyaltsen or Khenpo Karma Orgen might hear that and jump their seat and say, but of course there is, and I don't know everything still at all in Samagaun. I had asked, someone told me that, but it might be that there is, but not that I'm aware of.
Did you ask, at any point you ask why only the women do the nyungne?
Yeah, that's actually, it's interesting. I was also curious when I was in the village the first years, I mostly saw women. First, the nuns from Serang Ani Goomba, the monastery in Lower Nubri came, and there was a nyune for the women. It's actually, nyune was, no, sorry, I'm sorry, the Serang Ani Goomba came for the Chu. The nyune is practiced by women as I've asked. I don't know that there's a specific answer. They didn't, it's because this, like Chu, for example, practice was created by Machik Labron, which was a female practitioner. So it's a practice which is more feminine. But for Nyune, I actually don't know. And however, contextually, Khenpo Gyaltsen's Dharmagyan women practice that on the suggestion and on the teaching of Khenpo. So this is how it happens that the group is doing that. But I also asked, and it's just because only women. Maybe it's because I don't know. Having Ningje means the people really talk when they do the nyune. They say we try and feel Ningje for the yaks or Ningje for the animals. So this may be because women are closer to their hearts. I don't know, but this is, yeah. Yeah.
But maybe one reason is that Nyungne is associated with Gelung Mapalmo, also a woman. No?
Yeah.
One time I read, but I think it is a scholar's opinion, that it was a way to starve yourself for your jinda, basically when you didn't get enough food, that was a practical way of handling your resources. I don't know whether that's true. I wanted to ask you something else. First of all, thank you for sharing wonderful pictures and your experiences. From what I saw there, it is an interesting mix of modernity and ancient traditions, and I wanted to know whether you could tell us something about how people talk about it themselves, feel about it themselves, and even the fact that the women receive education. You mentioned Khenpo Gyaltsen, and I wonder whether he is just replicating what Chökyi Rinpoche does here for the lay population, because traditionally that hadn't been done, giving Dharma education or literary education to lay people. And so maybe one inspired the other. I don't know in which direction. But then one could see the buildings are look very well kept, very rich. And then you are mentioning the internet. So there are these three modern elements, but then at the same time, the bubble. So is there talk of modernity, modern thinking, anything like that?
So thank you for, this is such a, maybe the most important question. No offense, no, I'm just joking, but it's a really important question. When I thought, what's presentation am I going to give? I thought, should I give this one? Or should I give the more, maybe, which I tackle in my research in the written part about the cohabitation, which is a euphemism for conflict, about modernity and tradition. Nubri is a Beyul, and the Beyul is now being visited by hundreds, if not thousands of trekkers a year, which is good and bad. It also has its good sides and its bad sides. It's, but the change in how, first of all, until 1994, it was closed. Nepal government closed the area. For foreigners, nobody could enter. So this is why this millennial old culture was preserved the way it still is today. But the approach of my research, I started working in Nubri on Rinpoche's asking, and I very quickly saw that the culture was very quickly changing, and I was a witness of that. So I thought there has to be, or it would really be kind of appropriate to do a research which assesses Nubri rituals, what they were, what they are, and what they will be. I mean, I might ask Mingyur Rinpoche for the answer of how they will be, because I don't foresee the future, unlike high lamas. But now what's happening is that since 1994, the region opened to tourism, trekkers are coming, and since after COVID have been pouring in, internet is getting installed. Also, the Cordyceps sinensis, I don't know if you guys have heard about Yarzagumbu, which is a mushroom, fossilized caterpillar mushroom. The caterpillar fungus is being harvested since the last 15 years, upper. So that was a big source of income also. So from a traditional society, the society opened up and money became a thing. And obviously external influences, Western influences, on top of which trekking and Manaslu mountaineering, with people now flying, quintals of material by helicopter and bringing plastic shoes, phones, internet, eating meat, because we all want a chicken sizzler, right? At the end of the day, if you're not a vegetarian so this is really, these are things that are happening. The other thing that we're working on with Rinpoche, which are the two main issues or problems right now, is first of all, outmigration, because the other thing is that Westerners are coming to take a holiday and take a break from their busy schedule, because we've lost basically what's in Nubri, the clean air, the sacred place. Now we've lost, obviously people are looking for that type of beauty and sacredness from the West, but young men especially, are going out in France, especially in US also, on illegal visa. It's a nationwide problem in Nepal, but in Samagaun, 63% of the adult male population is outside the village, especially in France, working on illegal visas, usually in Chinese restaurants. That's the first thing. Second thing is climate change. As I said, 3 times more heating than anywhere else. Deforestation because building guest houses, wild animals coming out of forest, eating yaks. Yak is essential part of the ecosystem, so ecosystem is at risk of collapsing. Temperature heating's up, glaciers melting. So, I mean, it seems very dire. It's when you get there, you don't see that immediately. But the young guys leaving, it's also a very traditional society. So, you know, we grew up in a society where we were free to choose our own callings. We didn't have a religious organization, which also is missing sometimes for us. But the young guys, a lot of them feel frustrated and leave. There's this incentive of making a living and making income, but also keeping your tradition. So there's this kind of double pulling and pushing, and it's very tough on the young guys because of that. I think I wanted to do this work to record just as a witness. I also, obviously, to answer, I'm not very good at synthesizing, sorry, but I wanted to know how to, the kind of, as you say, the gender. I think to have the answer if Khenpo Gyaltsen and was inspired or got guidance from Chukinima Rinpoche. I think I will ask him. It's a very interesting question. I knew of Kyabji Chukinima Rinpoche's work in for lay people, and it definitely it sounds very similar. I think also the organization might be called Dharma Gyan. This is what it seems that it's at least there's a kind of common view of extending and opening the Dharma for everyone, even householders. However, this does not go without conflict, just because traditionally it's men, traditionally women pour the tea. I mean, obviously this is, I think, Khenpo Gyaltsen's bravery and, that he said, no, we're doing this. And we're doing this women's group, and we're not only doing it for Samagaun, we're going to do it in Samdo. Now they've opened in Lower Nubri. And also, so you have these kind of more patriarchal or man-led structures, which are maybe not coexisting so well, or it's creating a little bit of friction with the women's group. Also, some kind of age-old conflict or age-old maybe competition between, there's so many lamas, and it's such a blessed place. You have Mingyur Rinpoche, Tsogny Rinpoche, Tenga Rinpoche, Khenpo's almost by the dozen, invited Rinpoches coming. So sometimes on certain issues within the village, certain lamas or certain Rinpoches, you could see, the political side, you could see the competition between lamas or, that kind of thing, which I think is not new. I don't know, I'm not knowledgeable at all about history of Tibet, but I think that might have been already the case, as Buddhism was and is a religious institution. So as it's a man-made, still, it's a lama-led, and then, it's a very enlightenedly led, but it's also a human with human people, with human sangha, and so there's also that kind of thing that comes into the picture, which is, the lama to lama competition, the women to men sometimes. So it's not easy, I think, to take a place. This is why, at least with Mingyur Rinpoche's vision, with H.E.L.P, we are doing Himalayan environment and life protection, is to tackle really the root on the long term, the climate change aspect and the outmigration aspect. So that young guys, for example, this year we're starting a guide school, trekking and mountaineering guide in Samagaun, but we want it to be a national school for Nubri people, but also for any Nepali young person who wants to pursue a career in guide, and so that locals can get a local guide training, illiterate gentlemen who don't know how to read and write, but they can get a local guide training and they can guide a few trekkers and make a little money. People who don't have grade 10 or like their baccalaureate, but can still attend and have a diploma. People who have grade 12 or after high school, and this way they can be local guides, national guides, international guides, make an income, still stay in Samagaun, but go abroad, let's say a lot of Sherpas trek guides go to, like in France for 3 months for the season working in the Alps, but they have this dream, I mean, the Western pull is so, everybody tells you have to be successful like Bill Gates and put these sneakers and it's so, everybody has internet now. So this is so, people go, the young guys go, they don't see a future in the village. They're frustrated and they see this kind of dream, which is not a dream, obviously in France, because when you're a refugee on an illegal visa, it's not going to be a dream for you. But this is why we're trying to create income opportunity and training among others. I mean, Rinpoche's main idea is the guide school, so that the young kids, they can get an education, get training, and also go abroad if they wish to, but in good conditions. Make that dream come true. You want to go to France? Okay, you can go for 3 months and work, but you work. And also, so this is and the other thing on climate change is that obviously it's happening because of the France, the US, the biggest polluters are the northern world. So obviously, but Nepal is the third most affected country by climate change in the world. The main thing that Nepal can do on its side is to adapt. So adaptation, you have to, mitigation means to reduce the carbon emissions. Nepal has barely to none carbon emissions. There's no factories, however, adapt how the communities can still grow food despite the fact that the temperatures are heating up, the rain is completely hectic. And so we had this project which created solar passive greenhouses with stone walls where people in Samagaun, and then we extended it to Samdo, could grow every vegetable in the book for 12 months a year, before now in Samagaun, the climate is still very cold and there's barley and potato growing 3 months a year, once a year, that's it. So people, if they wanted vegetable, had to buy it from Kathmandu or from the lower valley, paying transportation costs. Everything was imported. So the food security was very low. So doing this greenhouse, in the summer, people can grow tomato, cucumber, zucchini, chili, and in the winter, they can still grow salad, sak, which is the Nepali spinach, even in the dead end of winter. So that helped. And obviously, when the trekkers and the mountaineers come from Manaslu, they can sell the vegetables. We give these greenhouses to women who are almost the poor and widows. I mean, at the first year and the second year also, we also wanted to reward our women who had gone to our class. And so that was the approach. And the other thing we did for the climate change and the income was a value chain. There's local rose hip in the village, which is the fruit of the rose. And I found on the internet people who were really an amazing company called Tea Leaves. They're Canadian. I don't know if any of you is Canadian, but they're from Vancouver. They're a luxury tea company working in 5-star hotels. And they agreed to buy, we women from the village picked the rose hips, dried them in solar dryers. We send them to Canada. They make a luxury tea, which is luxury not only by the price, it's expensive, but by the taste. It's very good. And then 100% of the income goes back to the women. And the second year, because it was a success, we opened to the whole community. So guys also. It's not a magic, it's just one project. But for that, we got, I'm doing a little bit of, we got the Ecuador Prize. I mean, we were working as Terra Charity before H.E.L.P was formed. We got a prize which UNDP, United Nations Development Program, gives to 10 community initiatives who are promoting sustainable development and nature-based solutions. So this year, the whole team, after the last puja, the whole team, we went to Dubai to get the COP28. So, I mean, I'd never been to Dubai. It was an experience, but my team, even, they never gone out of Nepal. So it was like really cool to live that together. And anyway, but that was, so these two projects, the tea, the rose hip and the greenhouse, I think that kind of helped and made an impact. And now we're expanding, we're studying reforestation, because basically climate reforestation, that would be the best thing. And agroforestry, which is planting trees and crops together. This is the way we're really thinking in terms of resilience and how to make the community resilient to climate, and locals, men and women, to make an income. So for reforestation, we're thinking now we're exploring drone reforestation so that people can plant trees, and we can plant on a wild scale. It's happening in Canada and California. Actually, after the forest fires, there was some drones planting, and it reduces the cost and the time. You don't have to plant in nursery. You don't have to pay labor for 3 years or 2 years to grow the trees. You just plant seed bombs through flying drones, so it's a little bit difficult to picture, but we're still researching. But hopefully we can start that this year on top of we did a traditional reforestation project, but a community reforestation project, meaning because all we try to do is kind of grassroots work with the community, pilot, do small, effective, good result, replicable, and then scale up. But other people might scale up. We obviously maybe for the drone thing we would, but community reforestation is a system that worked very well in Nepal since 25 years. They put the management of planting, cutting to the communities. So the communities are themselves the leaders of these projects, and they can make an income, and they decide. And that was responsible, if I'm not mistaken, for 23 or 27% of forest cover more in Nepal over 25 years. So it's a real success story from Nepal, and we're doing the same system in Samdo. So yeah, okay, but that is, yeah. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My question is about your, you mentioned the Nubri Valley has become no-kill zone. So in this case, the whole the population inside this valley is not be able to get the like meat, or not able to kill their own livestock and all these things. Is there any study or any research on that this change of this lifestyle from pretty much pure meat and to pure vegetarian? Does any health effect to the local people on that? The reason I'm asking is similar situation implied in the some monasteries in eastern Tibet today, and study shows that this actually, of course, in the monastery or the Lamas intention is the religions, but the reality in very remote areas cannot get any proteins, beans or anything like that on the Tibetan plateau. So they couldn't get any nutritions, which like they used to have nutrition getting from the meat, but now they couldn't get the replace for that. Is there anything like that, or from Nepal government or from your organization to can help locals on that case?
So that's a very interesting question. I'm still researching on that because, as you mentioned, Tibetans eat meat because maybe because of climate change now more things are growing, but before nothing was growing. Basically, if you didn't eat meat, you could not plant your tomato or your zucchini or whatever. However, it seems I'm still trying when the no-kill zone was declared together with the Manaslu conservation area, it had been a while, ever since it's been a long time that Nubri has been a no-kill Buddhist zone, unlike Tibet, which for, necessity reasons, because Tibet is still, there are some places I think as the same height as Nubri, but Tibet is high plateaus, 5,000. So what locals used to eat, it's an agro-pastoral society with the cultivation of potato and barley and the consumption of yak milk, yak butter tea. So that is If you don't like butter tea, you have to like butter tea if you stay there. It's an acquired taste, but I also learned to like it. Curd, people in the highlands make curd, butter, and what's called H.E.L.P, which is dry Tibetan cheese. So this is actually a protein diet. And of course, tsampa. So what is made from barley is barley roasted flour. People, if you trek in Nubri in the September time, you see people collecting the barley. And then, like in the old days, I mean in France, but in other countries, people hit the kind of barley to separate the grain. And then there's some old rock mill where they grind. So people used to eat barley, and in barley they put a little bit of sugar. Before the Chinese invasion, Nubri was on the road, the salt road, and it was a real big center for trade of yak wool. It was basically the Himalayan Tibetan trading route. And people came to Samagaun to buy yak wool, yak butter. And the diet that was practiced there was very little vegetables, but still nutritious because the protein was not meat, but the yak butter. I'm still trying to see if people used to eat meat, let's say 200 years ago, or if Nubri was a no-kill zone. It seems that it has been for way before the conservation area officially proclaimed it. The thing is, now that the Nepali diet has become a trend and it's become a Nepali, it was part of Tibet until a few centuries ago. Nepali eat dal bhat, Nepali eat white rice and tarkari and vegetable. So I don't know if there was dietary unbalance, but at least people started consuming and needing more vegetables. And for that, but tsampa, I don't know if you've ever eaten tsampa, pak, they call it. You have you have a lot of type of tsampa, but you have a way to eat tsampa in kind of solid. You put your butter tea, you can put some sugar, you can put some H.E.L.P, which is the yak dry Tibetan cheese, and then you eat it, and it's very nutritious. It keeps you warm. And then you can eat samtur also, which is the Tibet tsampa soup. What people also eat is dedo. So dedo is the Nepali national food, which is this kind of paste, I don't know. And people made dedo from golo, which are beans. Again, beans were brought, so it's a leguminous. So again, you have a cereal, leguminous, butter. That's kind of a good combination. However, when you see the pictures from Nubri 30, 40 years ago, there was stunting for sure. Children, I mean, malnutrition, interestingly enough, you don't have the levels of malnutrition, absolutely not, that you have in certain places like Tarai, where some kids are really, like I worked in Africa, some kids were really malnourished, like in Tarai. There, because of the tsampa diet, that's not really the case. What we try to do as a complement, because of the Nepali diet, is we try to help people grow their own vegetables. And in the greenhouses, you have beans growing, green beans. That was, I don't know if it's a complement for meat, but at least it's a complement for this kind of diet that people have adopted. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.